Most of you have probably seen that press conference by now where the slightly confused journalist asked for Schweinsteiger's thoughts on the possibility of the Chicago Fire winning the World Cup. The official Chicago Fire Twitter account jokingly tweeted about their road to Russia, and the World Cup Twitter account got in on the action as well, letting the Chicago Fire know that they believe in them. It was all a bit ridiculous really, but it got me thinking, how would the Chicago Fire do if they went to the World Cup? Obviously that's not actually possible given that they're a club side with players of all different nationalities on their roster, but let's put it to the test anyway. Can the Chicago Fire win the World Cup? Many of the 2018 World Cup qualifiers are yet to be determined, so for the purposes of this video, I'm putting Chicago up against the sides that the US national team faced at the last World Cup: Ghana, Portugal and Germany. Now, there is no World Cup competition in FIFA 17, and even if there was, we wouldn't be able to put the Chicago Fire in there, because they're not a national side. Let's use a little imagination here though. I'm going to be putting the teams up against each other in single matches. I'll keep tally of how they're all doing, and come the end of the fixtures, the two teams with the most points will progress, and the two teams with the least points will be eliminated. So let's give it a go, and let's see about working out just how successful the Chicago Fire could be if that journalist's warped vision of world football became a reality and they went to the World Cup. Also, if you're new around here and want to see more FIFA 17 experiments, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you do go on to enjoy this video, leave it a like as well. Let's get on with it though, and let's see how Chicago gets on against Germany, Portugal and Ghana. So for the first game, Chicago is coming up against Ghana. Now you're probably wondering why it says that they're taking on Columbus Crew. Well, the Ghanaian national side isn't actually featured in FIFA 17, so I've put their most recent squad on the Columbus Crew roster instead. Asamoah Gyan and a couple of others aren't actually included in FIFA 17, so couldn't put them in the team, but most of the players are there and they're ready to do Ghana proud. The Chicago Fire make an absolutely horrendous start to this opening game against Ghana. It's catastrophic defending from the American side as Ghana breeze past them to take a 1-0 lead. I'm not sure that this goalkeeper is even actually a professional footballer. What on earth was he doing there? And the American side don't seem to learn from their mistakes either. They're making things far too easy again, they're backing off Ghana and allowing them far too much space on the ball. Thankfully for Chicago though, the Ghanaians don't seem too blessed with decision making ability and the attack amounts to absolutely nothing. Just before half time, Ayew has a fantastic opportunity to make it 2-0 to Ghana. He blazes it wide though, and heading into the second half, there's therefore plenty still to play for Chicago. Ghana have been the better team, but at 1-0, anything could happen. The half-time stats kind of say it all about the footballing quality on display in this one. Both teams have been completely rubbish and managed a mere one shot on target between them. And as the Chicago Fire appear to have a completely terrible goalkeeper, it was enough to give Ghana the lead. If in doubt, smash it out. And it's poor defending from Chicago once again, but they're once more saved by the fact that Ghana don't really seem to know where the goal is. And that ball control just about sums up the quality of this second half. You're going the wrong way, mate. You're 1-0 down and you're going the wrong way. Oh, hang on a minute. Chicago have remembered what end they're meant to be attacking. They've remembered how to play football and they've grabbed themselves a late leveller through Harrington. The fullback showed fantastic quality there to smash it in the corner, providing a rare moment of quality in a game that was about as enjoyable as sandpaper in one's own balls. Those are the full-time stats. Let's move on swiftly. Meanwhile, in the other group game, Ronaldo scored a header as Portugal beat Germany 1-0. Not quite the 4-0 win in the bag for Germany that they enjoyed in Brazil back in 2014, but Portugal have won a tournament since then and they were clearly better prepared for this one. Portugal were by far the better team, Germany appeared to have no cutting edge whatsoever and they only had one shot on target all game. Ronaldo easily could have had a hat-trick, and things really don't look great for Chicago Fire in the next game. They don't look like they know how to play football, yet Ronaldo looks like he could absolutely destroy them, so yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that goes. At least they have a point on the board though, so as it stands, Chicago Fire are currently doing better at the World Cup than Germany. So yeah, I had very low expectations going into this next game. Chicago Fire were terrible in that first game, whilst Portugal looked brilliant against Germany. Chicago were lucky to scrape a draw against Ghana, yet early on in this game, they looked the better team. And they've got an early free kick as the main man Bastian Schweinsteiger steps up to strike one. Sadly for the US side though, the ball goes sailing well over the bar. The Portuguese seem to have massively underestimated Chicago, and they make them pay for their sloppiness just before half time as Solignac heads home to give the American side a well-deserved lead. Portugal looked like they could have absolutely battered Germany in the last game, but it's a completely different story in this one. The MLS team have been by far the superior side, whilst the Portuguese players look like they've just got out of bed. They have been terrible. The Chicago Fire's goal seems to have woken Portugal up a bit though, and Quaresma comes close to bringing them level. More good play follows, and Ronaldo nearly creeps in to score an equaliser just before the break. It doesn't happen though, and as you can see from those stats, Portugal are currently getting absolutely crushed by Chicago. Apparently there hasn't been a single shot on target either, which seems weird given that it's 1-0, but there you go. The Chicago Fire have enjoyed 68% possession anyway, and it looks like they're going through to the knockout stages. Portugal have some serious quality in their side though. They may have been terrible in that first half, but anything could happen in the second. They come close to scoring once again, but the Fire hold firm and they manage to maintain their lead. Schweinsteiger is sacrificed in the 60th minute, and it's probably not really the right call. Portugal seem to become even stronger in the experienced Germans' absence. It's all bodies behind the ball for Chicago right now, but can they hold on for a historic win over Portugal? Surprisingly enough, they did. Chicago Fire beat Portugal 1-0, with a result that could well send them through to the last 16 at the World Cup. Portugal were much better in the second half, but they just couldn't quite manage to find an equaliser. Meanwhile, in the other match, Ozil scored a beautiful goal against Ghana, but that was basically the only thing that happened throughout the entire game. It was such a boring one. As it stands though, Chicago Fire are currently top of the group with 4 points. Anything could happen in these final group games though. There's everything still to play for. Things are getting very interesting. So the Chicago Fire are now involved in the biggest game in their history. They're up against Germany, and a point here would see them through to the last 16. Germany are a massively powerful international side though, whilst the Chicago Fire are a fairly average side from the MLS. The first half was pretty even, but also fairly uneventful. The score remains at 0-0, and as it stands, the Chicago Fire are heading through to the round of 16. As the game draws towards its conclusion, Chicago are lucky there not to concede a penalty. Germany were denied, but they really should have had that one. They're so unfortunate, and the game finishes as a 0-0 draw. The Chicago Fire are heading through to the last 16, and so too are Portugal. Ronaldo scored a goal to see off Ghana, and Germany have somehow been eliminated from a group that contained Ghana and Chicago Fire. FIFA 17 is just such an unpredictable beast. Anyway though, so continuing with the route that the US national team took at the last World Cup, Chicago are facing off against Belgium next, and if they can get through that one, they'll be moving on to play Argentina. Surely this is where their story ends though, right? Or maybe that journalist was onto something. Maybe Chicago Fire could well be genuine contenders to win the World Cup. Nah, Mertens is just going to break their hearts and score an absolute banger against them. Seriously though, take a bow, son. That finish was exquisite. I was genuinely starting to believe in the Chicago Fire, to be honest. I thought they were going to go all the way. They're 1-0 down though, and they're now taking off Schweinsteiger, so it's probably not going to happen. Still though, at least they managed to get further than England did at the last World Cup. And let's not write them off just yet. They're playing some good passing football here, and they might just get a goal back. Or not. They tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. The journey's over, but to be honest, the Chicago Fire did a lot better against international teams than I would have expected. They beat Portugal, they drew with Germany, and they ultimately got knocked out by a goal that would have flown past any goalkeeper in the world. They could have had 5 Manuel Neuers in goal and it still would have found the back of the net. It was a truly world-class effort, and the Chicago Fire can hold their heads up high about how they played in all of those matches. Anyway though, thanks for watching. Don't forget to drop a like on this video if you've enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll catch you again next time.